awards. Maybe you'll even be nominated in one of the categories, but it's like our version of the Oscars where we do a bunch of awards. There's like 15 or 16 awards, and people vote on them for like a month online. And then once we have the finalists, we just announce the winners at that event.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we did it the last 2 years at the Vault in downtown Tampa. Not sure exactly.
I think that's the one I came to
Oh, you did?
year.
Oh, cool.
But you guys didn't. It was in the spring, right? Springtime?
March, yep.
In the March. Okay.
You were there for that?
Yep.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so then you know what it is. So yeah, did you come with people from your office or?
No, just with my husband.
Oh, nice. Cool. I don't think I met you then at the event, did I?
Probably
Yeah,
not.
there was a lot of people there.
It was packed.
It was, yeah. I think we had like 350 or so that were at that event. Cool. Well, that's good to know. So you at least did come to something last year.
I did. I told you, I'm trying.
So you're familiar with it then.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe this year you'll be one of the ones nominated. Who knows?
All right.
Yeah, why not, right?
Okay.
You ready to rock?
We're live. Let me just hit record on these guys. So we're sitting in parking lot currently. Not record in this recording setting. You just switch to.
Probably want to have the mic like you're perfect. Like about, yeah, that's good.
All good?
Yep. Kind of like 2 fists usually, depending on how strong your voice is. Rob always yells at me that I talk too loud. So. Yeah, so if you're gonna be soft talker, you might want to eat the mic a little bit.
Yeah, they are those microphones that if you get closer to them, you tend to sound better. If you've ever seen like footballer, not comedians, but commentary, some of them have like the microphone like pretty much in their mouth.
Close, yeah.
That is, the idea here is the same. It will sound fantastic the closer you are. Okay. Now let me record on that one. This is recording. Yes, sir. I sure will. And then this is your camera, Natalia. That is your camera over there, the iPhone. As soon as, if there is ever a moment that you want to talk directly to the audience, that will be your camera to do so. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give Don a countdown for us. He's going to welcome us in, and then we'll just start the conversation with you. Cool. All righty.
Ready. Born ready. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than Tampa Bay's real producers, such as our guest today. We have Miss Nataliya Fillers today on the show. How are you?
Doing good.
Good to be here. It's nice to finally meet you in person.
Yes.
I know that those of you who follow our magazine, we have just featured Nataliya as a rising star in the November 2023 issue. This is actually the issue right here. And if you check out, you can actually check this out on our website, which is tampabayrealproducers.com. You will see Nataliya's article right there. And so we'll be diving into her story a little bit, which is a fascinating one. But the article came out good, some great photography, some great pictures here. So very cool to actually meet you in person. So
Thank you.
Nataliya, why don't we get started with just a little bit about your background. I know that you were born and grew up in the Ukraine, and so we'll talk a little bit about that, and eventually like what drew you to the States and how you got here. So why Why don't we just start with that for people who might not know your story?
Sure, of course. I was born in Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine. Spent my life there until I came to the United States. Um, I have two sisters, so I'm the middle one.
Yep.
And when I was growing, my older sister is a teacher. I always wanted to be like her. Just always followed her steps. She was my model, what to be, how to be. So when I finished my school, I decided to go to the pedagogical college to be a teacher, but also I always was fascinated with the foreign languages, and I wanted to study English. So I went to the linguistic university. It was like two of the education programs that I did, to be a teacher and the interpreter.
And this was in Ukraine.
It was in Ukraine, yes. So when I finished that, I was working as a teacher of English as a second language, and also I was working as an interpreter in the travel agency.
And so you went to school, it sounds like, as an education major. So in your mind, you were just going to get a job as a teacher, and you know that was going to be the career, which you did do, right?
Yes.
When you graduated, your first job out of school was in the teaching field, was it not?
Correct.
Was that also in the Ukraine, or was that in the States at that point?
In Ukraine.
It was, okay. So how long did you teach in Ukraine?
For a couple of years.
Okay.
And that's when I met my husband, because I was working as an interpreter in the travel agency back in Kiev, and I loved that because I was able to meet people from other countries, practice my language, but also that social aspect of meeting new people, listening to their stories. Just, I love that part.
Yeah.
And that's how I met my husband. He was traveling, and he's from United States. We met together, fell in love, and that's how I ended up in the United States.
Oh, that makes sense. So your husband basically brought you here, right? And where was he from?
He was from Indiana.
Okay. Now, did you guys go to Indiana, or did you come right to Florida?
To Indiana.
You did.
So I came to the United States in 2003.
Okay.
And he lived in Indiana. We were there until almost 2016, so we stayed there for quite some time.
Okay. Now, were you a teacher in Indiana?
Yes, so when I had kids, I decided to just continue my path of education and go into the education field. I did go to the Montessori education first, just because I decided that the Montessori system was very close to what we were used to in Ukraine. And plus, I love that system of education for
Yeah,
kids.
it's a great reputation here too.
It does, yes. So I started working at a private school, and that's where my kids went to, and I love that because my kids were with me. We had the same time off, holidays, vacations. So it was just perfect.
Yeah.
And at that time, my husband was a realtor. He had a real estate license, and he was doing both residential and commercial real estate. So I got
So there's the connection.
Yes, it's all connected eventually. Yes. So I was getting drawn to that part of his type of work as well, just because again, it's more about connecting with people, working with people, and I was always fascinating with that type of.
Yeah. So did you get licensed as an agent in Indiana?
No, I
You
did
didn't?
not.
Okay. So what brought you guys to Florida?
Good weather.
Yeah.
That's number one.
True, when you live in Indiana, I can see that.
Yes, oh yes, especially we were closer to the Chicago side where the lake side, so we
The
would
windy
always
city,
get,
huh? Yeah.
yes, that lake effect. Did not like the gray, the cold for more than 7-8 months.
Now, coming up, growing up in the Ukraine, I thought you might be familiar with that a little bit.
You know, we don't get that cold in Ukraine at
Really?
all. It's not, yes, usually it's more of a mild weather in
Okay.
there, not as much snow and negative.
Those cold Indiana
temperatures.
winters was a bit of a shock for you,
Oh
huh?
yes, oh yes, especially when the buses don't turn on
Yes.
during the months of December, just because it's so cold and we
Yeah.
have to stay inside. That's a little bit.
Yeah, I can relate a little bit. I grew up in Connecticut, so there's
Okay.
plenty of blizzards and cold up
Oh,
there
yeah.
as well. And I went to college here though, University of Tampa,
Uh-huh.
and that's how I fell in love with Tampa Bay myself. But the weather had a big part of that for sure,
Yes.
so I can see that. So you guys moved down here in 2016, you said?
Yes.
And initially it was the weather, the draw, just a different lifestyle, I guess,
Mhm.
that you wanted to have down here.
Yes.
Is your husband still in real estate? Did he continue
No.
that in Florida? He did not.
No, he had different businesses while we were living in Indiana, so he actually ended up just going to a completely different business. He owned different businesses
Mhm.
before that. And when we came here, he already didn't have his license. He's in a different types of business. It's still selling, but selling mostly online.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided to get my license and continue this
Nice.
type of work. Yes. So
So
the
was
kids
it-
were old, and it was a little bit easier for me.
Was it hard for you to walk away from the teaching lifestyle since you did it for as long as you did?
It was tough because you get the connections with the kids, and
Mhm.
especially if you love what you do, it's always hard to make a change.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was tough, but I enjoy what I'm doing now. And now, sometimes a lot of people ask me, would you go back to teaching, or do you miss teaching? And you know, I feel like every stage in your life, it's a new stage, and you, especially if you grow and you enjoy it,
Yeah.
you just look back and love what you do, but also that gives you the opportunity to grow. And I feel like the teaching, the education part really helped me to become a better realtor in what I'm doing right now and be successful. And so I don't think I would want to go back just because I'm at a different growth level, I would say.
Yeah. And the money's a lot different too.
Yes,
I think.
and the financing, yes, the financials.
That's
always
got to play a little bit of a
important.
role, right? For sure.
Of
So,
course.
did you get licensed right away when you came down here?
No, I wanted to kind of like put our roots down here, so I did end up going to starting with teaching here, just as we're settling. I get to know the city, the areas, and so I started working at Countryside Montessori School
Okay.
in Land O'Lakes,
Yep.
which is #1 school in Pasco County.
Mhm.
Great school, I highly recommend. It's a charter school.
Yep.
And I was there, and then as we were putting our roots down here, I get to know the town, the city, the areas. I got my license, and I'm this type of a person, I'm a perfectionist. I need to learn as much as possible to have a lot of knowledge before I can offer that to somebody else. And so I just felt like I needed to get to know a lot just in this type of a business.
Mhm.
I took as many classes as possible when I got my license. I signed up with Keller Williams, which offer amazing classes.
Yeah.
So I think I took
They're known
every
for their
possible.
training programs, for
Yes,
sure,
they
yeah.
do, and I'm very grateful for that. I did every possible class they offered, and when I felt like, okay, now I'm ready to offer my knowledge, expertise to the clients that I will be working with, that's when I started working full time.
And that was like 2021, 22?
Somewhere there, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's why as you said earlier, we featured you as a rising star, because in our world, a rising star is someone who's been licensed less than 5 years,
Okay.
but is still crushing it in the real estate world. If you're not familiar with Nataliya's numbers, I mean, I saw something, and this is probably not completely accurate, but over like 76 transactions, I think it was, over the last 12 months, and over 28 million in volume. Now that's individual production, I think, right? Just
Correct.
you, not a team.
Mhm.
And so anybody who's doing over like 40, 50 transactions a year is really hustling, and doing some pretty impressive numbers, and you're at the top half of that. The average of the top 500 in this market averaged about 62 transactions, and
Okay.
you're pulling that average up with your efforts and your work. So let's talk a little bit about what has worked for you. I mean, it's not like you're crazy experienced yet, right, in this
Right.
world, but you've been really quick to get success,
Mhm.
right? So you just mentioned that you spent a lot of time in getting prepared,
Mhm.
taking your classes, learning your courses. Maybe that was
Right.
KW's help with that.
Mhm.
Thinking of your first year, what really worked for you, Nataliya, to get off to a fast start?
Mhm.
If you think about the success, do you remember what you did, by the way, in your first 12 months? Does those numbers ring a bell to you at all?
As far as the numbers, no.
Okay.
It was just happening so fast.
Yeah, things were moving quick, right?
It was
Because it
moving
seems
quick.
like you were just full of action and actually taking
Yes.
action. So what are some thoughts that you have about things that you think you did well to get off to a fast start?
I think part of it is the preparation, and it might seem like you're saying with the numbers, that once I started, the numbers just go up. But realistically, before that, it was a huge amount of work that I put in with connecting with people, taking classes, getting educated, getting a lot of knowledge, not working, but really getting to know people who were successful, to understand what helped them, and
Mhm.
not just in real estate business.
Other
but
agents, you mean? other real estate agents? Yeah.
Yes, but
Makes
in
sense.
general as well. And I think part of the classes that I was taking at Keller Williams, they were led by top producing agents as well, and just connecting with them, knowing their stories, knowing what helped them, it really helped me to understand what I need to do, which steps to take in order to be successful when I started.
Yeah. Did you have like a specific mentor in those early years?
Not really. We
Okay.
just had different.
Just learn from everybody
Mhm.
that you could.
Yes.
And so you didn't join a team or anything, right? You started right off the bat as an individual producer, and so that's an interesting point too. Because a lot of times when we interview people, if they've had success when they're new, they'll really rave about why it's so important to join a team and to find a mentor within a team and to really learn from them. And you didn't take that path, right? You did it a different way. And what I love about my role in some ways is I get to see different ways that people become successful, right? And hear their story through that. And so you learned a lot, I guess, from these courses and classes, but then you actually you put something to work that did work, right, for you. What are some strategies that you felt like really helped you crush it in those early years? Was there certain lead strategies you went after? Is there certain ways that you went out to market? Is there what worked for you to be able to get traction?
Yes, that's a good question. That's the most important question that a lot of younger realtors start when they're just starting as. So the first one, I do a lot of connection with people through social media. And since I speak Russian and Ukrainian, I also have participated in a lot of forums for the Russian and Ukrainian speaking communities here in the area, which also helps. I do a lot of events for the people to connect together, especially the ones who are just coming in, they don't know the area, they don't know each other. So I do a lot of events for the adults and also for the kids as well. So connecting the adults, but also connecting the families together, which I think helps me get that exposure to a big, I would say, group of people in Tampa Bay area, which also helps me to connect with them. The first and the most important thing that I feel the agent should have is ability to connect and create that trust and trusting relationship with the clients. And once you have that, then they will come back, even though they might not be ready to buy or sell. When they meet you, they talk to you, but then eventually once you create that trusting relationship, they will come back to you. And that's what I find most often. I might meet people 2 years ago, or met people 2 years ago or a year ago at the events, and then they would call me and say, hey, listen, we were talking, you really did seem very knowledgeable, we created that trust, I do give them a lot of advices throughout, and they come back when they are ready.
So did you end up paying for leads at all or investing in leads? So it's been 100% organic from the beginning. That's impressive. So again, a lot of times to get the numbers that you're at, that's a lot of networking, right? That's a lot of relationship development to be able to like, you can see some people getting maybe some deals that way, but to do the level of volume that you're doing really speaks to how effective that you've done that networking, and I think these events you mentioned are probably a big part of that. Do you work, Nataliya, with like is there other investors that are in your network that you're working with as well from Russia, Ukraine, or other markets? Is it people actually looking for homes for themselves? What's been your client demographic?
I would say I would say 80% of the people are usually moving here to buy the house for themselves, but the 20% are the investors. They're not big investors, mostly people who just want to invest in real estate, buying 1-2 properties. I think one of the investors who I worked with, he bought 4 or 5 homes in the area, but that was the biggest investor, I would say.
So a private investor just wanted to build his portfolio with it, the rental home type thing, right?
Yes.
What percentage of your customers, out of curiosity, are from Ukraine or from Russia?
I would say 90%.
Oh, it's that high.
Ukrainian and Russian speaking, yes. And most of them have already established their roots here as well, so most of them have worked here. Some of them have been here for 20 years plus. Some just came a year ago, so it just depends. But a lot of times, a lot of my clients move from other states here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you really found a great niche there that you can serve, and obviously it makes sense, being that that's your background, that why there would be a trust factor there, right? That they can connect with you on.
Yes.
So I think that that's awesome. I'm surprised to hear that that niche was big enough that you can do the volume again that you're doing from serving that niche the way you have. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, I'm ignorant to it, but I didn't even know that we had such a big community from Ukraine and Russia in this area.
I did not know either when I came here.
Well, it's a good thing for you we do, right?
Yes.
So again, obviously, this is an interesting time that we're doing this podcast because of what's happening right now in Ukraine, right? With this horrendous war and everything that's happening over there. So speak a little bit to that if you wouldn't mind. Like, you have family there still, right?
I do. I have my older sister there.
And so, like, that's got to be frightening in many ways. Like, just what.
Your parents are not there. They're
Yes,
here
so,
now.
we took our parents here when the war started, which
Gotcha.
was very, very great.
For sure. So are they living with you now? That's awesome. The fact that you've been able to do that too, I'm sure that they've appreciated that. Do you talk to your sister regularly out there? Like,
Yes.
what's she dealing with out there right
Yes,
now?
it's tough, and that's the oldest sister who is the teacher, so she's still a teacher in
Yeah.
there, and it's tough. It's very emotional, especially she sees that a lot with the kids because it's a little bit easier for the adults to digest and kind of interpret to themselves
Right.
what's happening, and at least find some logic, even though there is really no logic in
Right.
there. But for the kids, it's so difficult because especially the younger ones, they really don't understand what's happening. And to live in that uncertainty when there are sirens going on, at times you don't know when they will go on, and
Right.
there's just a lot of fear. And it's a lot
Must
of
be
stress.
heartbreaking, you know, because like you said, I mean, I have
Yeah.
5 little kids. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to explain to them, why are
Exactly.
people bombing around us, Daddy? Like, I don't
Right.
even know how I
Yeah.
would explain that, right? It's heartbreaking to even have to put yourself in those shoes. And the fact that your sister is a teacher and she's with the kids every day
Yeah.
and probably hears a lot of the stories about some of the families and the tragedies that they're going through must be
sure.
even more heartbreaking, you know, for her. And so thankfully she's been safe though, right? This whole time, but she's a teacher in Kiev, the
Yes.
capital, which is an area that Russia has focused on to bomb and try to attack at certain times,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So thankfully though, they've never shut down the school or anything like that, it sounds like.
So their school has each school there has a different system of going about it. So there are times they have online classes. So when they know that there will be a lot of bombing coming this way, I guess they have their ways of
knowing that.
Yes, so they shut it down. They receive, so the teachers receive the messages daily whether they will have the online classes or they will have the schools. And so sometimes they have online classes, sometimes they go to school, sometimes they use the school as the shelters as well. And so even though there might not be bombing, but the school is used as a shelter for some people, and so they can't use the school for the kids. So there's just a lot of uncertainties in like on a daily basis what will happen. And then in the winter, I think it's the hardest time because when the bombing is happening, the Russia targets the infrastructure, and there are times they turn off either the gas or the electricity or the water. So of course, then the schools cannot be in session because of that as well. So there is just a lot of uncertainties, even whether you wake up and what will happen each day, whether
Right.
you'll go to work or whether you'll have to stay at home. So that's what's happening with the kids.
And she's your only family member over there at this
Yes.
point. I'm sure you have friends and stuff though
Yes.
that you know there as well. When's the last time that you've been to Ukraine?
That was in 2011.
Okay. So pre-war, obviously that was a while back, 10 years ago now. Do you miss it at all? Do you miss just growing up in that area, or you kind of
I
feel blessed to
do.
where you are now?
Yes, I'm definitely blessed where I am. I do miss, I think when you're growing up and you had a good childhood, you do miss the memories of that.
Yeah.
Not specifically the area, or, you miss the people, you miss the emotions, you miss your experiences.
Sure.
And so, of course, I miss that part, but I'm always
There was
looking
never any
forward.
risk at those points that you remember
No.
growing up. That you always felt safe.
Oh,
and,
yeah, for sure.
Never had any issues with threats of war at those times really as much.
Correct.
So yeah, well, we'll have to keep your sister in our prayers, and hopefully everything pulls through well for this to end this war some way, shape, or form. I'm sure you have your opinions on things that our country could or shouldn't do to be able to help support it, and hopefully we could figure out a way to be able to end this atrocity here one day soon. But back to your story of real estate and the success that you've had. So you've mentioned, Nataliya, that pretty much 90% of your business is being generated from your personal network that seems like stemmed through your relationships from a lot of Ukraine and Russian connections, as well as the events and stuff that you participated in. Do you do any sort of like ongoing client appreciation parties or events or things that you think have really worked with you to help keep those relationships sticky? Because sometimes in real estate, you can help someone get a home, but then when are you really going to help them again? 5 years later? I guess the average person ends up selling. I think the stats are like 5 years later. Does that kind of sound about right? But are there some things that have worked for you to maintain those relationships?
I do. And I think that's super important to keep the relationship going. I always tell my clients when we finish the deal at the closing table, I will never say goodbye to you. I'm always available if you ever need help. If you have any questions, not even relating to the real estate, always reach out to me.
Yeah.
And that has been very helpful. I do events as well for the clients, for the past clients. And again, like I said, with the events where I have events for the kids, I always invite my past clients and anybody who else wants to come. That helps to connect with the clients, but also to meet the new people.
How often do you do those events?
We try to do it, I would say, at least 4 or 5 times per year.
Oh, nice. So it's good amount of, it's good. And are these generally just at like a restaurant or a house? It's like a client appreciation type party?
Yeah, so it's different. It varies. Sometimes, like for the kids, we did the past few we did for the Easter. It was for the Orthodox Easter, which was kind of cool because we had the
Easter egg hunt type thing.
Yes, we did the Easter. Yes, exactly. So we usually have a lot of music going on, very good food, kind of like a picnic style. So we do that at the parks. The one we did in the summer, we did back to school for the kids as well. And again, we had lots of fun. We did different games for the kids. And then we did one in the fall for the before the Halloween.
Nice.
So that was fun.
It's cool. Your story really speaks to the importance of finding a community, right? A niche that you can serve. And I'm assuming your clients just kind of all view you as the real estate expert, right?
Yes.
And they're because they are close knit, and probably the ethnic ties to that are obvious. There's an element of built-in trust, I guess, from that. But then, of course, because of your hustle and your professionalism, and you're willing to give back to the community, then that trust is enhanced, right? Even more. And so for those of you out there who are thinking about, how can you try to replicate something that she's doing, they might be thinking, well, man, I'm not from the Ukraine. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if I could ever do that. It's like, well, you don't have to be from the Ukraine, but what community could you serve that you can build that trust in, right? I've interviewed agents that were maybe veterans in the past, and they do a lot of their business serving veterans, right, that are looking for homes. Maybe for you, it's first-time home buyers, right? Maybe that was an experience that you enjoyed or one that you didn't enjoy, but you think you can really help a first-time home buyer navigate that process. That could be a niche, right, in a community that you serve. So I'm just reminded about the thoughts that it's better to be a master of something rather than the master of everything, right?
Correct.
And to learn that niche and really serve it well, I think is a really good lesson. And you obviously have done that on a very high level.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So congrats on all your success. So for people who don't know you that well at all, Nataliya, why don't we give them a little bit more information about just you as a person, your background, your personal side. So we know you're married. You have 2 boys who are in college.
Yes.
We talked about that off camera. What year are they in school, by the way?
Sorry?
What year are they in school?
The oldest is the 2nd year, and my youngest is the 1st year.
Okay. Are they into like any of the football teams or anything over there at their schools?
They are.
Yeah.
They
one's a
are.
Gator at UF and one's a Bull at USF, right?
Yes.
So,
And they both were playing basketball at school as well, so they love basketball.
very cool. So are you a sports fan?
Not really.
You put up with it.
Yes, exactly.
Is your husband a sports fan?
Oh yes, he is.
There you
Yeah.
go. So he must enjoy watching the boys then
Absolutely.
do their thing. So you guys never wanted more kids, huh?
No.
I was telling her that she looks like she's 16 years old, so she must have had the kids when they were, when she was a kid herself. But so what do you guys love to do for fun? Like when you're not busting your tail working as hard as you do, like what do you guys love to do?
Well, when the kids were in school and younger, they loved playing sports. They loved basketball, and my youngest did the baseball. So I remember every weekend we were just at some end-stop sport event.
Yeah.
So that was my life until they became a little bit more independent. But we do love to travel. That's one of the passions that we have, and we love to travel. When the kids were younger, we traveled across the United States. Now we travel a little bit more out, usually to Europe, but we
Nice.
also want to go to South America and explore
Very
the
cool.
countries there.
Do you have a favorite place that you've been?
Yes, in Europe we love London. We always come back to it. But we also loved Italy. We traveled to many places in Italy, different cities. Venice, Florence was one of our favorite. Rome.
Me too.
I loved Lake Como. That was
Nice.
beautiful nature, just amazing landscaping. Also liked Milan.
Nice. You have traveled a lot then, I can see.
Yeah.
I went to Rome and Florence for about a week each a couple years back, and I definitely fell in love with Italy. It's such a gorgeous country.
Yes, and it's so
And the food is
different.
amazing.
Oh yes,
Yes.
we come back for it.
Yeah.
all the time. Also, Amalfi Coast is gorgeous. If
Yeah,
you've never
I've heard
been
that.
there.
I have not been myself, but it's on my list too. I'd love to
Yes.
get a little bit more time. With my kids being as young as they are, it's hard to do those big trips.
Yes.
We do a lot of trips in the U.S. and travel as much as we can, but I think that really... I love traveling too. I think there's something to like always looking forward to the next trip, wherever that's going to be, and having it on the calendar. And it's almost like you work in order to get to that next part and be able to afford that for the family. So it's kind of
Exactly.
neat.
And
So
experience that too. That's
Yeah,
the
the
most
memories.
important thing. The memories.
that's
you
what really
just
sticks with us, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about the material stuff that we buy. It's those adventures and memories that you can create. So it makes sense. And so you guys love to travel. And I have a couple of like kind of rapid fire questions for you. All
Okay.
right. To get some thoughts about these things. So do you have a favorite like book maybe or podcast or you don't have to say ours, or a seminar maybe that you've attended that you just felt like has made an impact on you personally or professionally?
Yes. Since I was in the educational field, I love to read, and I love to read a lot of informational books. The most favorite one I have is Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Cool. I have not read that.
It's really good one for really your individual growth. Mm-hmm. And when I was a teacher,
The name of the book is Mindset.
Mindset.
Nice.
When I was a teacher, I was into the psychology as well, just because that's how you know how to connect with people.
Sure.
And there are definitely a lot of parallels between the education, the teaching part, the psychology part with connecting with people, being a realtor, because there's just, I think the base for being successful teacher and being successful real estate, since it's kind of like the same line of work. You're connecting with people.
Totally.
You're creating that trust. So the most important thing is to have that connection and knowing how you can show that trust, how to be genuinely, respectfully honest with your clients and with the kids. I think that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I love
to be a great agent, you're basically a consultant. I mean, you're a
Correct.
psychologist.
Yes, you
right?
have to
You
be.
have to be able to manage people's emotions.
Exactly.
And that's not always easy. 'Cause
No.
most people buying a home is a very emotional process. It's like
Exactly.
where they think they're either selling where they have all these memories,
Yeah.
or they're buying where they hope to create memories.
Yep.
And so that's a very emotional process for a lot of people. And so the psychological side of it is real.
It is, yes.
Definitely. Makes
Yes.
sense.
And when people feel that you're genuinely respecting their ideas, their thoughts, their emotions, that's when you connect. That's when you connect and create that trust, and
Yep.
they really value that. And I think part of it why I have a lot of referrals from my past clients is because they do remember that I was there for them during that emotional buying or selling process, and that sticks to you. Because realistically, if we remember when we had our emotional ups and downs, we remember that one person who was with you, supporting you or cheering you, and I think in that selling buying process, that's what happens as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, because once they've had a great experience with you, why would they not want to use you again, right?
Yeah.
When the time comes, and of course, like you said, recommend you to other people to do the same. So a good amount of your business seems like it also comes from referrals, huh? Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So what was the author's name again of Mindset?
Carol Dweck.
Okay. Is that one of your favorite authors? Have you read any of his other books too? Or
Yes, she has a few more.
Okay. Very cool. Do you have a favorite food?
Oh, that's tough. I love food.
You do? You're a foodie?
I am.
Yeah?
I am. I don't think I have any food that I don't really like. So
Doesn't look like it. You're so skinny.
I know. I think it's all due to the genes, good genes, and high
Ukraine genes, huh?
metabolism. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, well, in Tampa, you do have a lot of different type of restaurants, so you can
Yes.
kind of enjoy your, fill your need, I guess, whatever that need might be, right?
For sure.
Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is the season.
Yes, it is.
My kids are constantly asking me to put Home Alone on now on
Yes.
Netflix and whatnot. So we've been watching it for the last 3 weeks. I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like Home Alone 1. They want to rotate between 1
Yeah.
and 2 on a constant basis.
yeah.
Yes. So you're a Macaulay Culkin fan, huh?
I am.
You like the comedy.
Absolutely.
I get it. All right. So I have a question for you that I call our legacy question, right?
Okay.
So this has to do with the thought that at some point, you'll take a seat back and maybe kind of contemplate your career, contemplate all the things that you are appreciative of your life. And at some point, we always, I think, eventually think about the legacy that we want to leave, right? And when you think about what you'd want to be most remembered for, Nataliya, whether that's, personal or professional, what are some thoughts that come to mind as far as the type of legacy you'd like to leave?
That is a really good question.
Thank you.
Well, the legacy I want to leave. I guess the all of the positive experience I had with people and helping people, knowing that they feel like I was with them to help, supporting. I guess that.
Very cool. Yeah. And again, the fact that you've built a very, very successful real estate career, right? And the numbers speak for themselves without really doing any sort of financial marketing or investment on leads like most people do who do the volume you do, right?
Okay.
I've interviewed a lot of people that have been very successful in real estate following your path, but the numbers don't quite match up with what you're doing, right? If someone's going to be 100% organic with their lead gen and focused on that side, I think it's a great way to build the business. It's usually a slower way to build the business, right? But it's one that I think has it makes a lot of people feel good about what they're doing. But in my experience, even though they're good producing agents, they don't have the numbers that you're producing in terms of volume, right? With these, you're doing close to 100 units a year. And it's very rare to see that and have it be completely organic the way you have. And I think it speaks to really kind of what you just said about how important it is to you to be viewed as genuine in these relationships and that you're really willing to serve and to give and you have that heart. I think people must be able to sense that and feel that and really feel connected to you because of it. Or else, again, you wouldn't have the success you've had without trying to artificially create some of it, So I applaud you for that. It was really cool to hear a little bit more about your story here on the podcast. I'm sure we'll have to have you come back again at some time. And maybe we'll have you at some more events whenever you're not working. I know it's hard. I know it's hard when you're hustling the way you are.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more today, Nataliya. So
Thank you.
if somebody wants to pick your brain a little bit more and maybe just, ask some questions about anything, your expertise, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Texting is the best way.
Cool. All right. Do you want to throw your number out there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll put it in a description. We have it. So we'll put it in our YouTube description so people can contact you if they want.
Sure.
We always end every single episode with a challenge. And our challenge is the same as it always is, which is, what is one specific action step that you can take from this conversation today with Nataliya that you think can help you move forward either personally or professionally, in your career. And if you do that, then the time that you invested in listening to our conversation here will be worth it. Tony Robbins always preaches about whenever you learn something or hear something, if you don't take an immediate action step, you're most likely to just completely lose it, right? So maybe you have to figure out a way or put a little bit of a thought into a game plan as to how to serve a community the way that Nataliya has, right? She's done an amazing job serving the community there with Ukraine and Russian, and I mean, the numbers, again, are very impressive for somebody to serve a community at a high level like she has. What is your community, right? Is there a particular one that you would be passionate about, that you can serve genuinely, and that you can start to put a game plan together as to how to do it? Maybe Nataliya is a sounding board for you, or even just an example for you on being able to do just that, or you can reach out to her to pick her brain more on how to be able to get that done. Or maybe there's something else. Maybe it could be as simple as picking up the book Mindset. That is an action step that you can take to be able to move forward in the right direction. But do something. We always challenge you to do that so that this podcast time would be worth it for you. And we, of course, will see you on the next episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers. We'll see you later. Bye.